Greetings, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I actually went and purchased Trailmakers back when, Steam sale around Christmas, I believe. But it's been sitting in my Steam library screaming at me going, hey, I should actually get around to playing this one of these days. And welcome to my first session. Now, we have just started the story, I guess you could say, the campaign mode, another way of wording it. And you can tell I'm recording the audio quite early in the morning on a weekend, so I'm sure plenty of words are going to escape me before the end of this session. So, without any further ado, I would suggest you get yourself strapped into some kind of seat and, yes, watch the story as it evolves. Now, a little bit of background. This is literally the first time I've ever played Trailmakers. I only downloaded and installed it on my computer about half an hour ago. So what you are seeing here, complete with all of its flaws, fumbles, and other possible things starting with F, is me just getting the hang of the interface. I inevitably go through this with pretty much every kind of game I learn for the first time, and I'm sure everyone else has similar experiences in that regard. Now, I came to Trailmakers content-wise. I've stumbled across it a while back through Scrap Mechanic of all places. I did have, I own Scrap Mechanic, and I have played quite a lot of Scrap Mechanic, but not for quite a long time. And through my interest in Scrap Mechanic, I came across the legendary Scrapman on YouTube. Thanks, dude. And I've been watching huge amounts of his content over the years, along with a couple of other content creators in that space. And then he sort of, a little while back now, started making Trailmaker content, and I was just a bit sort of loyalist to Scrap Mechanic at that stage, and I didn't really understand the significance of Trailmakers at that stage, so it took me a little while before I started watching that content as well, but then it's sort of grown on me a bit, and then he's introduced other content creators as well, shout out Yuzi. And I gradually sort of had enough interest that I thought, hey, this is something I actually want to play. In amongst my, many other game distractions at the moment. Cough, Raft, Cough, Valheim, Cough, Astroneer, etc., etc., in addition to all the stuff that I play that I don't record. So usually factory games, because they're just so long to record and edit the videos. It'd just take me an entire week to do the content that I would have recorded in like a 4-hour session with Itchy. So yeah, that stuff's probably never going to end up on YouTube. It just takes way too long to do anything with it, and it's still boring as hell. So yeah, anyway, at least from a viewer's point. Anyway, so that's sort of where I'm coming from in terms of these builder style games. I have played a bit in the past. I've played some other sort of buildery kind of games as well, but Scrap Mechanic's probably the one I've spent the most time in previously. I did spend a fair bit of brain power telling myself I didn't have to put bearings on before I could attach wheels in this game. I'm sure Scrap Mechanic people, playing Trailmakers for the first time have had a similar experience. But the build style is involved, but it's kind of a little bit more, I know, it's just a different style to like Scrap Mechanic, and I gotta say I do appreciate the differences. And for the sake of the storyline, it's a very basic intro to the tools and all the rest of it, and that's where I really wanted to be getting this started from. it didn't make sense to just go straight into building because I didn't understand anything about scrap mechanic from not scrap mechanic. I didn't understand anything about Trailmakers from an actual playing it perspective. All I'd seen was all these marvelous creations that other content creators come up with and make videos about, and I'd never kind of experienced it myself. So I thought, hey, let's just go through the campaign and, learn as we go. So here we are. Now, we've got past a few basic, fixing your creation. Well, it's not even my creation, really. It's fixing your vehicle that somebody else gave you that was broken. And then along the way, we talk to this builder character, this Master Sapo, and he's walking us through the process of making some improvements, making some upgrades, the sorts of materials that we need to be gathering, the sorts of parts that we can be gradually unlocking and utilizing over time. And so at this point, we're learning all about the ingredients that go into making these engines. So we've got enough ignition berries and iron now, so we're able to make a second engine, which is, I find, a novel concept. Scrap mechanic, most of the time, you put one engine on and that's fine. That's really all you need to do. Yes, you control the power level, but in Trailmakers, it's quite a different experience dealing with engines. So again, a subtle difference, but one I can also appreciate. So here we are slapping the additional engine on here, and we look like we're about ready to go. Having a bit of a look around. I'm trying to work out if I want to move the engine somewhere else. I'm thinking, well, they're a bit exposed up there. If we end up entering into some combat at some stage, I might lose an engine. But I am getting far too far ahead of myself at this stage. And I was just content to go, hey, look, we can move on. Let's start gathering the rest of these resources. And then he said, oh, whoops, we forgot. We need some better wheels to get up this hill. So here we are. I've just gone off and, done my thing, even though there's a tooltip there that says, hey, how about you hold down the control key and just double click, and then you can put all the wheels away at once. Well, the rule of thumb with me is if there's an easy way to learn something and there's a slower/harder way to learn something, you can guess which way I tend to do things. But that's all right. You're going to be along for the journey anyway. So with these wheels and with this additional engine, I feel like we're ready to go. So we're going to get underway here in a minute. We'll gather the rest of the raw materials in the area, and then we can move on with the story. Okay, so we've established these Botnak dudes are not big on peace and tranquility. Hey, that's all right. There's got to be, bad people in games like this, otherwise there's a lot less story. Normally it's just a, live and let live kind of process, but here, clearly, that's not the primary plan. So we're going to be arming up this second vehicle that we have here that we've been provided. We're going to slap another shotgun on the front of it, and we're going to go and beat up this, what appears to be a mostly already beaten up Botnak. Wonder how that's going to go. Well, no big spoiler here, but it's not going to go anywhere because apparently this vehicle is already at a power core limit. And we can't add the extra weapon until we remove one of the engines. So, yeah, we removed the one off the back because, I don't know, aesthetics, don't like lopsided vehicles. You know, make your choice from there. And once we remove that, we're able to add the additional shotgun on the front of the vehicle. And yeah, I guess I get to feel what combat in Trailmakers is going to feel like firsthand as we do a bit of a weapons test there. And now we go down to this what appears to be a fairly mortally wounded Botnak and make very short work of him. Okay. He seems to have dropped something as well. We might go over there and pick that up in a moment. And then we can get back to doing some mining. As you can see, still getting used to the whole switching vehicles thing. You know, the old scrap mechanic mentality for most of my playthroughs in survival was, you know, one vehicle to do most things until I had stupid amounts of resources, and then I'd, you know, set up different mining vehicles and transport vehicles and things like that. But anyway, all good things will arrive. Yep, speaking of all good things, and by that I mean nothing good about that. Yeah, we got beat up again. So I'm sensing a reoccurring theme here as far as the game story goes. We got beat up when we arrived. We got shown how to do things. And then we got beat up again. And now we get shown how to repair things. Do we think we're going to get beat up again? I don't know. We'll see how we go for this session. I don't remember any other significant bumps in the road at this stage. But yeah, we'll see where we end up. Oh, plot twist. We've been talking to this guy while happily seated in our various vehicles, and now all of a sudden he doesn't want to talk to us unless we're outside of our vehicle. Alright, well, another thing to get used to, but that's alright. We are getting introduced somewhat to more of what's going on the planet, and that we're... Yeah, it feels like we're building up to, you know, the big evil that we're going to be dealing with as part of our story. We're just going to leave his hideout here, and we're going to head out into the world and have a bit of a broader view of what's going on. And it's a pretty world. Lots of trees and grass and location names and hills, and it does look pretty fancy. Not sure about the quantity of random sort of rocks slash things up in the sky. I'm not sure if that's going to bode well for the future, but if we need to deal with that, I'm sure that will come up later. In the meantime, we are here to find out what our problem is. And our problem is this big thing on the horizon. And it can only mean one thing. Storyline development. Yes, no. And here is our little froggets. They're suffering pretty badly for all of the terrible things that are going on the planet. And oh no, we have some bad guys just showing up. And of course, yep, And here's another fumble. I realised, yeah, I'm not gathering these drones. I need to, shoot at them. So, yeah, switch vehicles, get the old double shotguns out, and boom, boom, boom. And they're all dead. So, yeah, anyway, there's a bit more Trailmaker, shooting things up. Not sure that I'm particularly excitable about this vehicle, but I'm sure with more resource gathering and more parts being unlocked, we will be able to, get something a bit more tailored to our own tastes in the future. But to, I guess, make our vehicle sort of suck a little bit more in the short term, we need to put a frogget seat on the back. So we're going into build mode here, and we're going to slap this one on the back. And yeah, it's kind of big, and our little buggy here is somewhat small. And I could just be a bit douchey about it and just, leave it hanging off the back there. But I think, I've got to get the hang of this whole build thing eventually. So I start grabbing some pieces and chucking them in here and just seeing if I can get a bit more comfortable with how it all works. Yeah, I'd say rate me out of 10 for my building skills, but I'm not sure I would rate particularly highly just yet. But don't worry, I'm sure I will get better in the future. Oh, Master Sapo is a bit of a condescending, D-bag, if you will. He's, going off there telling me about how incredibly dangerous it is, and it's I should just go off and save a few, little peasants, because I'm not worthy to take on anything else. Yeah, thanks for that, dude. I think I have a bit of an idea of what's going to happen with the story a bit later. I think there might be an opportunity there for redemption, but yeah, let's not read too much into it at this stage. At the moment, we're just happy we've reached the Frogget village here. I sort of thought I could drive up there, and then it just randomly kicked me out of my seat while I was trying to drive up the stairs, and this is just me wrestling with the vehicle system. This is also me reaching the end of this episode. I know, a bit of a brief one, but I'm having a bit of a bash at just sort of slotting in a Trailmakers episode from time to time. I'm not sure if I'll have a regular schedule for it as yet. I have some fairly big plans on the horizon for Valheim, so stay tuned for those. In the meantime, we are at the end of this episode. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and to consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Until next time, my name is Rudimentary Rob. thank you very much for watching, and make sure you have yourself an absolutely fantastic day.